This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need an amazing blog, gallery, or an online store, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for an awesome online presence and to build and run your business.
What's going on, guys? Dan Watson. And if you're new to the channel at all, we do a ton with cameras here. We've got tutorials, help guides, all the newest features. I've got the Z6 loaded with the raw update right now, 1DX Mark III coming in next week. So tons of cool stuff coming up. So excited about it. Please sub. But we are looking at the Fujifilm X-T3 because this is a camera I've been asked about so many times, but I've actually never made a video on it. And I think for a lot of people, you've probably heard about this camera. You might have heard a couple good things about it, but you really haven't given it a second look. And this camera has been out for almost 18 months. I've had it for about a year. And in that time, no other camera has really come close to the quality that this camera can offer. So I want to go tell you about some of the features of this camera that make it really a standout camera, even in 2020. Now, a lot has changed in the last 18 months. This is not the same camera that came out in 2018. There have been so many firmware updates, and Fuji has been doing an amazing job keeping this camera relevant and at the top of its game. The first series of updates were mostly video focused, so we got like HLG recording for HDR. We've got higher bit rates for up to 400 megabits per second, which is insane for a camera like this. That's like 4 times the bit rate of like an A7 III. So amazing video performance on this. The second series of updates was autofocus performance driven, so you had much faster tracking, better face and eye detection on that one, improvements all around, and those improvements also came on the video side. So you have IAF in video and so many improvements as well. And then just 2 days ago, we got firmware update 3.2 with even better autofocus performance. So I've had that on the camera. I'll show you what that looks like and how amazing it is and how amazing the focus system is now on this camera. So overall, this is a much better camera than we were dealing with. And I'll show you some of the features that really separate this from other cameras in the pack. First, I want to give a shout out to Squarespace. Thank you for sponsoring this video and this channel.
I mean, you guys already know they have a ton of awesome templates that make it crazy easy to get your site on the way, even in a matter of minutes. But check this out. You don't even need custom graphics or product shots to get started. So I want to add a picture for my camera guides right on the front page. So I can just click a little image search, type in camera, and bam, I have all of these amazing images I can use as the thumbnail. But maybe you've got a food blog, no problem. Squarespace has you covered there. And check this out, I can actually go in here, change my photo settings, maybe go black and white, control my crops, custom filters, everything that I need. So now I can add products to sell for an online storefront, create some awesome galleries, which I can even password protect from my clients, and have my latest Instagram images imported right to the gallery or even post automatically to the website homepage.
So go check it out, guys. It's completely free to go start building your website. No credit card required. If you build something awesome, I know you're going to, you can use Learning Cameras as the coupon code and get 10% off of that. So let's talk about some of the amazing features on this that you just won't find anywhere else. And the first one is going to be dual SD cards. And so if you're using this or want to use this for event performance, things like weddings or anything like that, this is a camera that can stand up to that kind of professional level. Most APS-C cameras, especially new ones, do not have that. In fact, a lot of full frame cameras are leaving that on the table. So not a lot of options for that, and this one does have it. Also, the video side, 4K up to 60 frames per second, unheard of in a photography style camera like this that's APS-C driven. So amazing video performance and 10-bit internal, and you can get that with bit rates up to 400 megabits per second, which are insane. DCI or UHD. We'll talk about more in the video side, but amazing features in this camera that you just will not find anywhere else. So obviously this camera looks cool as hell. It's an amazing camera, and the images out of this camera are also amazing. Right up there with the top from Sony, Nikon, and Canon. They have amazing colors. Overall, low light looks very good. Dynamic range is solid. But really where Fuji stands out is some of the best looking images straight out of camera, especially if you add on some of their film modes onto that. You can get some of the best, especially JPEGs, out of camera that you will ever see on any camera. So image quality on this camera is among the top, with that standout feature being how good everything looks straight out of the camera. Now, I do have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with the ergonomics. This is an amazing built camera. You probably will not find anything built this well in this category, so that is a big plus. It's a very tactile camera. You have a lot of buttons and dials. I do find that some of them can slow me down. I have to adjust my grip to get to some of these functions buttons right here. Now, most of them you can remap to some of your scroll wheels that are over here, so that's a plus. But I know a lot of people that do like this as well. And the more I use the camera, the more I love it. But at first, I did find that they slowed me down just a little bit. Also, the grip is kind of small, and I find that using it over time, it can get a little weary on my hands right here. Also, the menu system, I mean, this is an advanced camera. There is so much customization here. The menu is similarly complex. There's a lot of items that you might find that are grayed out. You have to go to another area of the camera, enable something else, and then those aspects will be able to be selected again. So just plan on using a couple more hours of your time going through the menu on this camera than some others. Also, the lenses on here, I do love Fuji's lenses. You do have a couple more options with cameras like Canon and Sony. However, these lenses just kind of feel tailored to this camera quite a bit more. The 18 to 55, this is at f2.8 to f4. I love this zoom lens. If you're looking for a compact and very price efficient lens, you cannot find better than this. It's optically great. It has image stabilization in it. You have a wider aperture than most lenses, and it is amazing. Also, look at this. This is the 35 millimeter, 50 millimeter equivalent f2 prime lens. It's extremely small. Again, great optical quality on this, despite it being so small. And then you can buy like the 35, 50, and 85 equivalent lenses, the whole pack, for $1,300, which is about what you could pay for one Sony lens on that one. So extremely inexpensive. The downside is that while I do find that these lenses are well priced compared to like first party manufacturers like Canon, Sony, and Nikon, there is no option from like Tamron and Sigma. So while those companies make good, actually awesome in some cases, exceptional lenses for much less than the competition, we don't have those options here. So you're pretty much stuck with Fujifilm unless you want to go with some more manual lenses. And again, while those lenses are priced well for a first party lens, they're not as inexpensive as some of those third party options. Now, since we got all of those amazing autofocus updates via firmware, the camera is an amazing performer. The IAF and tracking on this camera are top. I still would give the edge to Sony's newest cameras like the A6600, but considering this camera is almost 2 years old, it operates like a 2020 camera with full eye autofocus on here. You can select your points, it's touchscreen, amazing performance overall, and these will also work in video as well. So one of the best focusing cameras here, even though it's a little bit older. And this might look like a stills camera, but don't discount it for video. In fact, it is the best video camera that you can find in this category right here. 4K up to 60 frames per second, DCI or UHD with tons of different frame rates up to 400 megabits per second, HLG, log, it can output externally 422 10-bit or internal 10-bit 420. It is loaded with like peaking and zebras and every feature you could imagine with dual cards and headphones and microphone jacks. It is loaded with all of the features that you would need for this. So if you are interested in video at all, the Fujifilm X-T3 is one of the best, if not the best, you can buy compared to any other camera on the market. So by now you're probably asking yourself if you should just go down and buy a couple of these. And there's two words of caution that I have for you. One is that Fujifilm does not make a full frame camera. So if you eventually want to upgrade to a larger sensor, you will be switching brands to do so. You might want better low light results from the bigger sensor, or maybe you want a sports demon like a 1DX Mark III, whatever you want. You will be switching brands to get that. Now, if you get a Sony or Canon or Nikon APS-C camera, you will probably have to sell all of those lenses when you upgrade anyway. So not a huge loss, just that you're going to switch brands. Also, do keep in mind that there are some full frame cameras that are coming really close to the cost of this camera, but also those lenses are going to be double or triple the price. So even though the full frame camera cost has come down and might give you some extra features like IBIS or something like that compared to this camera, the lens costs are gonna add up extremely quickly. So don't let kind of that higher camera price deter you too much. Now, obviously no camera is perfect, so there are a couple negatives here, and I just wanna give these to you in case they're important to you. So this camera does not have in-body image stabilization. Most other cameras in this range do not. The a6600 from Sony is the one exception. I do find that the stabilization on that is not going to be the best, so not a huge loss. And then really you need to upgrade to some of the full frame cameras like a Nikon Z6 or Sony a7 III to give you decent in-body image stabilization on those. Also, the battery life on here is pretty bad, and a lot of that is because you have a smaller camera, smaller grip, and so much power that the battery just can't keep up. So they do have some battery saving things like turning down the performance of the camera and things like that, but honestly, you're gonna want those. Plan on buying a few extra batteries for this. It's something that you're definitely gonna want. Also, you have crazy frame rate performance, up to 11 frames per second. But one thing that kind of separates this from a true sports camera is going to be that buffer. So you can only shoot that rate for like 3 to 4 seconds, about 30 to 40 frames before it begins to slow. And also the flip screen flips up, slightly down, and kind of weird out to the side a little bit, but not a complete articulation. And I do love that. So, I mean, some of those are personal, not a huge deal, but just things you should probably keep in mind. So for those of you who picked up this camera in 2018, man, you made a good choice. I mean, nothing else just comes close to the performance of this. If you're looking for a camera in 2020, I do think the X-T3 is still an amazing option for you. Do keep in mind that the X-T4 is probably coming really soon. I will post some sales to this as they come up down in the description below. You can find out my favorite lenses and cards for this as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Some really cool stuff coming up this week. I'm so excited to share it with you.